What is going on, everybody? It is Friday, January 15th. I had some technical difficulties with the audio and getting the episode out yesterday, so we are a day late, but it's a good episode. We're going to be talking, national championship and some of the takeaways after Bama defeated Ohio State with a score of 52-24. It wasn't close. We're going to talk, the James Harden trade, what I think for the future of the teams all involved. It was a 4-team trade. Then we're going to talk college basketball, just kind of movement in the top 10, who won, who lost, what it's looking like. We'll talk NHL. NHL came back Wednesday. The 2021 season has begun. It's only a 56-game schedule, but it's going to be an exciting year. And then we'll talk NFL playoffs this weekend, who I think is going to win, kind of an upset, how I think the games are going to plan out. It's a great episode, and I hope you all enjoy. Nick Saban and Alabama are world champions once again. They took down Ohio State 52-24. It was a blowout from basically the third drive of the game. Ohio State, they were a good team, had no way of beating Bama. Mac Jones, he played good. He didn't impress me. He wasn't great. Ohio State's secondary didn't show up. Just kind of let Mac Jones have an easy game on him. Najee Harris, couldn't really run the ball. He only averaged 3.6 yards per carry. The front seven for Ohio State stopped him, on the ground, but through the air, he still racked up a lot of yards. Speaking of racking up a lot of yards, Devontae Smith had 215 at halftime. He did leave half with a hand or finger injury. Didn't come back in the second, but they really didn't need him. Jalen Waddle played, didn't have to. There was no point. He only had 3 catches anyways. Mechie looked really good. He's going to be the number one receiver there for Bama next year. Moving over to Ohio State, Chris Olave, the wide receiver, he shined. He looked amazing. I think he's a back-end, first-round draft pick. I think he's going to be possibly Rookie of the Year next year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then Justin Fields, he struggled. Not that it was all his fault, but he didn't play nearly as good as he did against Clemson. Not much to say about this game. Those are just kind of my takeaways. Bama was, it was pretty much over from the start, like I said. If Mac Jones didn't fumble early in that first half, Ohio State wouldn't have got a touchdown. Bama probably would have went down and scored, and the game was still a blowout. So not much to say about it. That's kind of over already with, though. Bama is the favorite for next year. We'll see how their younger team looks next year. Moving on to the NBA, we had a big blockbuster trade involving James Harden, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Indiana Pacers, and the Brooklyn Nets. So Harden goes over to Brooklyn, just like he wanted. It was speculated. I didn't think it happened this soon, if at all this season, but it's happened. Harden is now a part of the Brooklyn Nets. In return, the Houston Rockets, they got a lot. They got a good amount. They got Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, and Rodion Kurucs. And on top of that, they got Milwaukee's first-round pick. They got 3 unprotected first-round picks from Brooklyn in 22, 24, and 26. And they have 4 unprotected first-round pick swaps with Brooklyn. So let's go slow. There are 3 unprotected first-round picks from Brooklyn. They are in the years 22, 24, and 26. Now, when you look at that first pick, it's not going to be a great one. It's going to be 2 years from now after KD, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden have been there for a year already, and this will be after their second year. This pick's going to be further in the draft, but that 2024 and 2026 first round pick might be pretty high. So Harden, Irving, and Durant, their contracts are all up after the 22 season. Now, one of them might resign, 2 might resign. I doubt all 3 are going to resign. And I don't know if any are going to resign, for what, Brooklyn had to give up for Harden, they're lacking depth. They don't have as much young talent as they should. I think their year 24 and 26 picks might be pretty low. Or I guess you could say high. They should be in the top of the draft, in the lottery, and that's good news for the Rockets. And that's, 3 years down the road. they're already getting a pretty high pick, especially depending on whatever their pick is, because they also have their picks for those 3 years. Um, and then they have 4 unprotected first round pick swaps. So basically, on all the odd years, so 21, 23, 25, and 27, they're swapping first round picks with Brooklyn. This could be bad further in the future if Brooklyn does end up being a bad team, because then the Rockets get even more, higher up picks definitely within the lottery. So it's a win-win-win for Houston. I think they came out of this great. Obviously, we'll see in the long run. But, yeah, and then they did get Victor Oladipo to kind of help them with staying relevant, you could say. They do have a decent team, so John Wall and whatever other talent they have. They have a good team already. They're not winning the championship, but they'll definitely probably get past the first round. They'll make some noise in the playoffs, and keep things excited in Houston. Cleveland, they received Jared Allen and Taurean Prince from the Brooklyn Nets. Just kind of getting some more young talent. Cleveland is one of the worst teams in the NBA. They are also pretty young, though. They're just kind of rebuilding and restocking. Indiana, they get Karis LeVert and a second-round pick from Houston. It's good for Indiana. So they're losing Oladipo, who he is going to be a free agent after this year anyways. He's probably going to ask for a max deal. They probably weren't going to pay him. They were going to lose him in free agency. And now they get Karis LeVert, who's got this year and next season left on his contract. He's 2 years younger than Oladipo. So they traded to get a little younger, and hopefully they can make a splash in free agency and kind of give LeVert, some help and get some more pieces around him. And then, yeah, like I said, Brooklyn, all they got from this was James Harden. I think they gave up too much. They have a 2-year window, to win a championship. If they win, great. I guess it worked out. But, if they lose, depending on how it, all patterns out, we'll see if they won this trade or not. But right now, I'm thinking they lost it, even if they do win a championship. After that, I don't know when they'll be relevant again, just without having any first-round picks. We'll have to see where that goes and how they develop the young talent they still have on the roster right now. Let's move on from the professional hoops down to college basketball. We're talking top 10. Gonzaga's number 1, Baylor's 2. They're clearly the 2 best teams in the nation. It sucks we didn't get to see them play, but they will hopefully play later in the season, pending, COVID restrictions. Villanova's at number 3. They haven't played since Christmas. I don't think they're going to stay at number 3 this week. They'll probably drop down a little bit, but they are still a good team. It's kind of hard to keep them at 3 when you haven't played in 3 weeks. Texas is at number 4. They lost on a last shot to number 15 ranked Texas Tech. They should still remain in the top 10. I definitely predicted them to remain in the top 10. They're a great team, and just it didn't work out for them this week. Iowa's at number 5. They're just taking care of business. They're beating whoever's put in front of them. They're looking like one of the top teams in the nation. Kansas is at number 6. They lost again, this time to Oklahoma State. They're probably right around that 10 seed range coming into or after the re-rankings next week. We'll see. I have them right at 10. Michigan, they're ranked at number 7 right now. They're the hottest team in college basketball. They're destroying everyone getting put in front of them. They're 11-0. This week on Saturday, they'll travel to number 23 Minnesota. Then they'll face a tough Maryland team on Tuesday. I think they'll get past both of them, and they'll keep building on this momentum they have. Number 8, Creighton. They've just been cruising through the Big East. Not much for them to do. They're winning the games they should. They're not really making contests out of any of them. Again, they're just cruising through the Big East. They're beating whoever's getting put in front of them. Number 9, Wisconsin. They lost to Michigan this week. They play a Rutgers team who just slid out of the top 25 last week. They're on the road in that game. If they win, maybe have a bounce back after that Michigan breakdown because Michigan destroyed them. But I don't think Rutgers is a great team like everyone else says, and Wisconsin should beat them. And then number 10, Tennessee. They haven't played in a while. All their games keep getting postponed, but they are still a good team. Not quite as good as they were, 2 years ago, but probably they're still a top 10 team. They're talented, and they gel well together. Now for my rankings, I have Gonzaga and Baylor 1-2 still. I have Iowa jumping to 3 because, like I said, Villanova hasn't played since Christmas. I don't see how they stay at number 3, especially with the way Iowa's playing. With that being said, I have Michigan at number 4. Same thing. They're hot. I don't see Michigan jumping Iowa yet because Iowa's looks good too, but Michigan definitely is a top team in the nation right now. Number 5, I have Villanova. 6, I have Creighton. Like I said, not much for Creighton to do. They're beating all the Big East talent they can, muster up and play against. So yeah, they'll move up in my rankings. I have Texas dropping all the way to number 7. It was a tough loss to Texas Tech, but Tech's a good team. They're well coached, and it wasn't a bad game. Texas played good. They looked good. They just lost on a last-second shot. I have Tennessee jumping up to number 8 just because the teams in front of them lost. At number 9, I have Houston. U of H, they did have a bad loss against Tulsa, a week or so ago. But with all the people in front of them losing and the fact that they're finally getting healthy after their COVID delays, they're getting back on a rhythm. I like Houston at number 9, and then at number 10 I have Kansas just because I still think they're a great team. They're just kind of in a rut right now after their loss to Texas and then Oklahoma State. That's going to be it for college basketball this week. There's not much else to say. Next week we'll look and kind of see how this week's games turned out and where all the teams are ranked. Let's talk NHL. They're back. Wednesday was the opening night for the new season. It is a shortened season, as we talked before. They're only playing 56 games, 4 divisions, playing everyone in your division. Starting off, we had Flyers versus Penguins. It was a fun game to watch. This Flyers team is very exciting. I think they're going to win their division over there in the East. They played a Penguins team that's definitely getting up there in age, but they still have a lot of veterans and a lot of experience. Pittsburgh fell apart late in the game, but they didn't look bad. The Flyers looked surprisingly calm, kind of poised. They looked like they were ready for the season to begin. And like I said, they're my bet to win the division. Next, we had Montreal and Toronto. They went into overtime. Toronto pulled out a comeback win. It was the second game of the season. Went to overtime. Morgan Riley gets the first game winner of the year. Moving on, the Blackhawks played the Lightning. Blackhawks looked terrible, and Tampa Bay looked really good without Nikita Kucherov. That could just be because the Blackhawks played so bad, especially with them missing Taves. But Tampa Bay they won the World Cup for a reason. They're one of the top teams, if not the top team in the league. And even without Nikita Kucherov, they still look good. The only goal scored against Andrei Vasilevsky was kind of a self-goal. You have to go watch to see what I mean, but they all played good. Defense, offense, everything looked good for them. Braden Holtby, he gets his first win as a Canuck after signing a 2-year deal this offseason. It's good for him to get off to a hot start with Vancouver. I did expect Thatcher Demko to start the year off, but I think it's actually I do like the decision to start Holtby, a seasoned vet, before throwing Demko out there. He did start Thursday, and they did lose 5-2, but he didn't look as bad as the score indicates. The St. Louis Blues beat the Colorado Avalanche 4-1 in what could be a battle of first place out west between them and Vegas. These 3 teams are going to the playoffs. It's really just a matter who gets that first seed and gets to play a sorry 4th seed in the first round. Everyone else played on Thursday except the Stars and Panthers due to Dallas testing positive for corona. We will get to see those teams this weekend or next week. Moving on, we're talking NFL. It's second round of the playoffs. Second round of the first year of doing a 14 team. So we do only have 4 games this weekend rather than 6 like we did last weekend. Let's go through the games. The Rams play the Packers. Packers are 7-point favorites. I think the Green Bay Packers win, but I think the Rams will cover, and I'm gonna take the under here. Aaron Donald is gonna play. Green Bay's beat up on the O-line. I just think the Rams can play good defense and hold the Packers. I see maybe a 23-17 victory, 23-20, 24-20, something around 44 total points. Green Bay edging out the win at home. Baltimore and Buffalo. I think Buffalo is going to win and cover. They're 2.5-point favorites. And I'm going to take the under here as well. I don't trust Buffalo's defense, but the Ravens only scored 20 on the Titans' defense, and the Titans couldn't run the ball at all. So they're not running the clock out. Ravens had a good amount of possessions and still only scored 20 points on a Titans defense that's not as good as they were last year. Similar situation to Buffalo. They're not as good as they were last year on the defensive side of the ball. Buffalo is a better offense, and especially if they can get the ball moving, unlike Tennessee could. I think Buffalo is going to win this game. Baltimore might get out to an early start, but I think Buffalo gets ahead, and I don't think Baltimore can catch up. Lamar, he gets flustered when he's behind. They aren't built to come from behind anyways, and Lamar's he's just not there as a passer yet. Tampa Bay and New Orleans. I think Tampa Bay wins, and I'm taking the over. New Orleans is 3-point favorites, and it's the third matchup of the year. It's the final showdown. Breeze is most likely going to retire after the season. I like Tampa Bay. I'm taking Tom Brady. I think it's going to be a shootout, honestly, and it's going to be a great game. TB12 is going to come out on top, though, and move on and play the Packers in the championship or conference championship. Last game, if that's what you want to call it, Cleveland at Kansas City. I think it's going to be closer than people say. I think Kansas City is going to win. They're 10-point favorites. I don't know if they're going to cover or not. I want to say no because it's so hard in the NFL to win by 10 points, and especially when you're in the playoffs facing good teams. So I'm going to go ahead and say Cleveland covers, and I know a lot of people here are taking the over. They think it's going to kind of be a shootout. I don't. I think it's going to go under. I think it's going to be a close game in the first half. Cleveland might even lead at halftime. But I think whenever they fall behind, they're going to struggle in the passing game. They are a run-first team. I know Kansas City, their defense isn't the best, but I don't think Cleveland's going to be able to pass it on them, especially when they're kind of panicking. I have Kansas City winning. I have Cleveland covering, and like I said, everyone's taking the over. I think it's going to be an under game. That's just my opinion. It's how I feel, and we'll see how it turns out. That's about it for this week. I'm trying to get more into just my opinions rather than just saying what's going on in stats. Next week, I don't even think I'm going to take notes. I'm just going to talk about what I saw this past week, and maybe we'll cover some more betting for the upcoming week of the playoffs. There's only going to be 2 games next weekend, but it's going to lead to the Super Bowl. Also, next weekend I will unveil my plan for how to fix the Pro Bowl in the NFL. I think I have a really good idea. Obviously, it's not going to happen just because I have no idea how to convey it to the league, and they're not going to do it even if I could, but it is a really good idea, and I think y'all are going to like it. With that being said, we'll see y'all next week.